wondering, take us back to 2015, because I wonder how much of your opinions are based in what happened to you. Again, perception. Yes, black man, Harvard, pro tennis player, versus black man standing in front of a hotel lobby and getting taken down by a cop. I've watched the video over and over again. I knew it from 2015, but I've watched it again just in preparation. I mean, I think to myself, what if you just didn't know what was going on and you fought back? So I'm just curious, just take us back to 2015 and where many of your opinions are shaped.
Yeah. So actually that brings up a really good point, and something that the perception is, okay, you've got your life set. You're a pro tennis player. You're out on tour. You're living your life in t-shirt and shorts, making money. And I was living my dream. Absolutely. And it's interesting to talk about because I was a black man in a very perceived white country club sport. So I definitely stood out at times there, but it's so interesting that all those people that I was close with on tour, a lot of them were white and a lot of them were isolated in this bubble. And for them, it changed their perception a lot when this happened in 2015, because they see the Terrence Crutchers, the Sandra Blands, the other incidents, and they see those and they're far away. They're distant. They're just a news story. And so when a lot of my friends that had never experienced anything like this, had never been around anything like this, saw that it happened to me, I think it scared them. And it also sort of woke them up to start talking to me about this, because they saw me, like you said, I was living in a world that, most people dream of, being around other pro athletes and stuff. And they never saw it close to them. So they started asking me, like, wait a minute, has this happened before? Have you had these kind of incidents? Because I wasn't as vocal before the incident in 2015. By no means was I really outspoken. If someone asked me a question, I'm happy to talk about it, but I wasn't the one leading the conversation. And then it started getting me to lead those conversations a little bit more. And to have people then realize that, okay, you take me off the tennis court in front of the thousands of people and millions of people watching on TV. I'm standing outside. I am just a black man to a lot of people that don't know tennis, that don't know me. And that is very different and can be dangerous, as any black man knows, that you're just riding in your car. Especially at that point, I was a young black man riding in a nice car. That I can't tell you how many times I got pulled over. And that's just normal to any black man in the country. Every one of them has that story of being racially profiled, either being pulled over or in a store, or someone crossing a street to get away from you. That's common. So you almost get used to that. That's just your daily life. But then to have it be so violent as it was in 2015, and to be taken down and be completely, pretty much impossible to be victim shamed, which a lot of times is the case, where, they shouldn't have been standing there. They shouldn't have been outside a liquor store at 2 a.m. They shouldn't have had, their pants sagged too low. They shouldn't have had this. They shouldn't have been doing that. They've got a criminal record. They got a past. The cops knew that, all that kind of stuff. They couldn't find any of that on me. I was dressed to go to an appearance at the U.S. Open. I was standing outside a nice hotel at noon in the middle of right next to Grand Central Station. So,
a question related to that, James, because your case was you were fortunate to say you are who you are. They could Google you, and there was video, so it was very clear that you weren't the person they thought you were. Did you still receive backlash? Because I saw the police officer went on and did a defamation suit against you. And, did you still receive backlash though, even though the evidence was so clear that obviously they messed up?
Yeah, there was tons of backlash. It was actually amazing, because I went on TV and I said, look, I really think most cops are heroes. Most cops do a job that is very difficult, that only certain people are cut out to do. But there are ones that shouldn't have the badge. It shouldn't be on the force. It shouldn't be allowed to do this. It shouldn't be allowed to carry lethal force and possibly use it when they're out of line. And I got people, very hateful stuff saying I'm a cop hater. I'm just some leftist crazy person that's just not, just doesn't understand how difficult it is to be a cop, and I'm out of touch, and I'm elitist, and all this kind of stuff. And I try to block it out as much as possible, or try to just let them know, show them my actual words. I said most of them are doing a good job. This one is not right. I mean, there's any profession in the world, there's going to be bad people. There's going to be people that are great at that job, and there are people going to be bad at that job, and there are going to be people with attitudes that aren't right, and with attitudes that are dangerous. And that specific one, in my opinion, had a bad attitude and had judgment issues that shouldn't allow him to be a police officer. You find out later that he had 4 other incidents of very possibly racially motivated instances where the state of New York had to pay out for him. He broke someone's jaw before, so he's doing these things consistently, and that to me scared me, to the fact that he then only lost 5 vacation days and didn't really get punished to the extent I thought he should have been punished for this. But yeah, it was so clear that, I mean, and even before there was a video, before we knew there was a video, it was my word against theirs. And that's where it gets really dangerous, because it was my word against 5 police officers.
Yeah, you went on Good Morning America before the video came out, right? And you were saying, I was smiling, I hope there's video out there.
And that was the funny thing, was that I didn't know there was video, and they didn't know there was video, and they were already combating that story, saying, oh, we don't even know if he was in cuffs. He was maybe detained for a minute. Now you find out that there's a video that shows it was 13 minutes. I was in cuffs. So it's just the fact that I was who I was. If I wasn't who I was, obviously I wouldn't have been on Good Morning America. I would have been, right to my 9-to-5 job and had no recourse. I try to be calm and cool and collected, but I wasn't calm enough to get their badge numbers or find out who they were or anything like that. That only came out after I went to the media. So most people don't have that. And so I think about that incident so many times since it happened. And a lot of times it makes me realize how lucky I am, how lucky I was, because as I said, I mean, for most people, if they hear me say I was smiling as this guy was running at me and came and tackled me, people are going to say, you know what, I don't believe that. The cops are saying that he was, looking suspicious and he was running or he was doing this, and people would believe that probably. But I think about how lucky I was, because being who I was, being in New York City during the US Open, I actually really believed a guy running up to me in the street was coming to say, hey, I saw your match here. I wanted, my kid watches you play and was a fan, something like that. Someone coming for a positive message, and a split second later, I'm on the ground. But I think about how lucky I was, because most people, they see someone running at them, there's 2 reactions. You either put your hands up and fight, or you start running yourself. And I think about if I had done either one of those, I don't know how it would have ended, because that person they were investigating a credit card scam. So it wasn't a violent criminal that they were looking for, but this person had it in his mind. This officer had it in his mind that there was going to be some sort of violence. There was going to be something going on where he was going to empower his force. He was going to use his force. He was going to take me down. He was going to take someone down. So if you give him a little bit of provocation, and you start putting your hands up and fighting, because he doesn't say he's an officer and I just think someone's running at me. If you do that, I don't know how that's going to end. That could have had a knee on my neck. I could have had baton started swinging. I could have had, he was a big guy. He was 220 pounds probably. He was running at me. That could have been very dangerous for me. 4 other officers on the scene, all armed. So I think about how lucky I was that was the case, that I was looking at him with a smile on my face, with my hands down, and he still did this. And I think about what would have happened if my brother was there right next to me and he had done this and he didn't say he was a police officer. My brother would have attacked him, and he could have gotten shot or injured or arrested or anything. So a lot of times, going back to my incident, I start thinking about how lucky I am that it happened the way it did, and then how dangerous it can be for just any time. I was standing outside just minding my business.